Today, we'll be going through a few slides covering the full funnel strategy, what it means in terms of a textbook definition, going through a little bit of why it's important, how to build one, and when to change. It is often thrown around as a buzzword, but the execution of it is critical. And it's a phenomenal way to make sure that your CMO, your CFO, or CRO is happy. With that being said, let me share my screen and we can start working through it. At the very end of this webinar, I'll also show how you can build one in about 3 minutes flat and take that framework into your day-to-day or whenever you need to then reassess or adjust your full funnel strategy. There's also a Q&A section. So with that, if there's any open questions, drop them in there. Perfect. This deck is going to be consisting of just a handful of slides. We'll be having very much so conversational based. Within that, it'll be covering the what is important, how to build one, when to change one, and really just the textbook definition. And so starting with that, the textbook definition is a holistic approach that considers the entire customer journey. It is something that, if you Google image search it, there might be 10 million different variations of pretty typical funnels, vertical, horizontal, and within that, there's very specific definitions of what each point in that funnel represents. But that funnel, it does not occur in reality where people do step 1, followed by step 2, followed by step 3, and next thing you know, they're purchasing and a returning customer. Oftentimes, the full funnel strategy starts at someone or your ICP, your ideal customer profile, is completely unaware of your brand. This is especially applicable for brand new companies, and it is also applicable for rebrands. We can take that same essence of being unaware of what that shift is and why the market needs your solution to becoming champions and advocates and going through and being the best customers that you could ever imagine. So within that, we'll be focusing and what we'll be determining as point A and point B. Point A will be someone is completely unaware of your brand, and point B is going to cover the renewal cycle. There's a couple questions, first and foremost, that is worth thinking about as we have this conversation. A lot can be boiled down to these two. How many times has your company adjusted its full funnel strategy in the last 12 months? And where does your full funnel strategy end when you have these conversations? Does it end at the initial purchase or does it continue on? This also has a heavy impact on your go-to-market strategy. For example, if you have a land and expand or an upsell motion, that is definitely going to be containing the afterwards section of it, post-conversion. At the same time, if you're focusing on product and retention and a lot of other aspects too, where you probably need to be doing a lot of customer marketing, that is also going to be after the initial purchase. Oftentimes, it ends at the closed won opportunity when a lot of those marketing conversations kind of trail off. But point A, completely unaware, and point B, being after initial purchase, is that holistic journey. So these are a couple questions to ask yourself, to bring up in future meetings internally, and making sure that you're staying up with the market and what your customers currently need. There are, a million different ways to say the same thing in marketing. We have probably some of the most acronyms. They all tend to be 3 letters for one reason or another: MQL, SAL, SAL, XYZ. All of our cost per metrics and conversion rates. We love 3-letter acronyms, but within that full funnel strategy, we can kind of take in the same way. So with that holistic customer journey, we're really aiming to drive your ideal customer profile from unaware of your company to champion and returning customers. And that is one of the simpler ways to frame it without having 40 pages of slides with different funnels and math broken out within it. It's also going to determine how you engage your customer or your prospects. It is going to have a heavy impact on your channel selection. For example, with, let's say you sell cybersecurity, you might engage them on different channels with a different voice and a different tone than if you were selling a completely different product in a completely different industry. We can take marketing as an example. Paid social and going on social channels is one thing that marketers do very often to stay up with the current trends. Cybersecurity might not as much, and you might be looking at paid social and Reddit and Quora or Stack Overflow or the different copy boards. So it really determines where you engage them, how you engage them, and also how you split your budget. Budget determination is a crucial aspect of this. And so what we aim to do is break out each piece of that journey and track it independently and also holistically. So if we say point A is completely unaware of your company, that will be looking heavily at brand awareness and driving to your website and making them knowledgeable. And now at this point, they are knowledgeable. Great. Let's take that. Let's analyze those metrics as well and provide valuable content so that they know that your differentiators are and your unique selling propositions are. So they not only, now know your company, they also understand why they need your company or why you're the best solution in the market itself. From there, a lot of purchasing decisions is based on timing and BANT criteria, budget, authority, et cetera, et cetera. I told you we love our acronyms. And so with that, making sure that when they are ready to buy or it's the right time for them to buy, you are at the forefront of their mind. Over the past few years, there's been a few shifts in the market in terms of, trends that we've seen and we've analyzed. We have some great reports out. Our marketing team has been doing a phenomenal job putting out some really great findings and what channels are performing the best for what situations or what different offers you're putting their way. And so I highly recommend looking into those as well. But one of the main things that we do is track those different budget groups. And budget groups is something that we use internally and within the product itself to assist with this. So that we can track, from the unaware category, point A, how's all the metrics? From point B, in the consideration stage that we'll say, what do those metrics look like? And closer to the bottom of funnel when they're ready to purchase a demo or take a demo or purchase your product, how are those metrics performing? And so with that, you can, in your internal systems as well and how you break things out in Google Sheets or Excel even, you can start kind of bucketing a lot of those initiatives under each of those categories and going through and doing that math to ensure that each stage or each area of that journey is optimal as possible. Why is any of this conversation important? It's because journey stages aren't linear. When we mention, all of the charts, all of the graphs, it's easy to visualize and understand and convey that message to external shareholders or other people on different teams, what it looks like. And it's very theory based. But in reality, and it determines a lot on your own company, it is not, hey, they saw my brand awareness ad and then they saw my gated ebook and they converted on it and now they're in a retargeting audience and they saw my demo or they searched for my brand and I got a, paid search keyword selection perfect. It typically doesn't go like that. It will typically, be like they might see your ebook 7 different times and not convert, but they remembered it so that they saw your next brand awareness ad, they went to your website, they then closed the tab, reopened it up 3 days later and convert on your website. It's not linear. Um, or they might have been, referred from a friend or a colleague and they went straight to demo. And that could have been through any channel, but it's not linear. And so what we do by focusing on the full funnel strategy is making sure that we're driving the relevant offers to the right people at the right time. And this is, a pretty common thing to say of, driving the right people to the right pages or the right offers at the right time, but it is crucial, especially in this day and age, especially with the technology and everything currently going on in our market that we're needing to adapt to very quickly, to be exactly honed in on it, because it's going to improve the buying experience and it's going to improve the customer experience afterwards. They're going to keep up with all of, the updates y'all make. If you have thought leadership posts and, you're doing social selling and you're doing all these other components, that's all going to factor in. Flywheel is another aspect of when you have all these different things working together at the same time, they all benefit from it. It's going to improve your cost efficiencies. So within this, if you hone in on, I was referencing those budget groups earlier, the unawareness or the unaware budget group, if you hone in on that and make that as optimal as you can, and then for your, we'll say middle funnel budget groups, so your content downloads, things that might be gated, you focus on driving those efficiencies and you bucket it in each category. When you look at everything at a macro level, you're going to be having the optimal efficiency that you can achieve at that current point in time. Within this, we often focus solely on driving demos. I know that there's shifts in the market where some teams are being KPI'd or their OKRs or MSPs are three-letter acronyms, all of which, just to say, are the goals and the scorecards that we're held against, are based on leads. Some MQLs, some are demos, some are pipelines, some are revenue. And within that, if we're doing like a pipeline velocity play, so you're targeting your open opportunities with brand awareness, there's some great data that shows that it'll decrease your sales cycle and can increase your ACV even. And so if we are analyzing from unaware all the way to closed won, we can also see then that driving the right offers to the right people at the right time can also decrease that lead to closed won duration. Lastly, there is a lot of great things that this can do with your brand. By being in the right space, driving the right offers, and meeting customers and prospects where they're currently at, it's going to show that you're knowledgeable and you're always there for them, and that you're in tune with the market and their needs. We just had a few more people come in here, and so within that, I'm just going to reference that it's not linear. It's a key point. It's not they saw my first ad, then they saw my second ad, then they saw my third ad, and now they're a customer. It looks a lot more like this. It's a crazy roadmap where the conversion points are all over the place and it's super hard to track and attribute. So by knowing your customer and being customer and market centric, you'll have optimal efficiencies. You can decrease your sales cycle and improve the buying experience. Now, let's get into the meat and potatoes of really how to build one. The first thing that I highly recommend is, focusing in on your customer and your market. So within that, having a profound understanding, like the back of your hand, this can often be done by working hand in hand with customers or taking an opportunity to, work with one for a day. If you have a customer advisory board or a CAB, I highly recommend having frequent meetings and speaking frequently with them. And there's some profound questions that you can ask that will guide you in the right direction of budget breakouts, channel selections, content strategies. Some of the questions could be, what information in your space are you most interested in? When was the last time you submitted your information for a content download? Like what was the event or the relevant piece of information that was so key that they submitted their information on? That will tell you a lot about the middle of funnel or your, lead generation aspects. You can also, if we're thinking about this post close won, what is the first memory you have of the last software you bought? So what was that initial triggering event? And what was the last memory you have, the last software you bought before purchase? And we can frame those last two questions to look at it a little bit more like a first touch and last touch attribution model. So what was the very first thing that they thought of or that they first knew of a company, and what was the very last thing that they knew of a company before making that decision to purchase? So these are some guiding questions, understanding where your customers go on their day-to-day, if they're going onto Reddit all the time, if they're going onto Instagram, if they're going onto social, or Google searching or Bing a lot, you can start to get an idea of channel selection. And within that, you have to factor in your ACV, your average contract value, and your sales cycle. So ACV and sales cycle play into this hand in hand. The first one I'll be covering is ACV. If you are here's a relevant example. I recently got a dog, and it's a puppy, and it has absolutely tore through two pairs of my jeans. So I'm in the market for jeans. Jeans cost $50. I don't need 7 pieces of content. I don't need an ebook. I don't need a disco call and a demo because it's $50. It's a very easy point in time decision that I'm going to Google search something. Probably whoever is doing the best on the paid search side of things is going to get my business, and I'm going to make a decision without thinking twice about it. Let's see. There's a raised hand as well. Anything I can answer in chats or QA, please drop them in there, and I'll make sure to be covering that. Now on the flip side of things, if your software is selling, $150,000 products and offerings, that is not going to be a point in time decision. I'm definitely going to be reading reviews. I'm going to be doing research. I might ask for referral customers. I'm going to be seeing where you're positioned at in the market. I'm going to need a lot of content because it's a much higher and more serious decision. At the same time, if you have let's say you sell enterprise deals, and it's a very complex market, very complex problem that y'all solve, and let's say it's a 12-month sales cycle or a 9-month sales cycle. You're going to want to make sure that you have enough content and that you're engaging with those customers or prospects enough, I should say, to keep you top of mind, to keep that conversation relevant, to be the best partners that y'all can with your sales team as well, because we're all in this together. And so if you have a higher ACV, it's a bigger decision. And if you have a longer sales cycle for a number of reasons, industry, complexity, ACV as well, you need to factor that in when you talk about your full funnel strategy. So those are two metrics that I would first be analyzing. And then making sure you update your primary KPI and goals for each stage. And so within this, I would be having a distinct KPI for my unaware category. For example, if we're focusing on brand awareness, and we're looking at it through a paid social lens, we could be tracking cost per click, video views, web traffic sourced from social. For your lead generation aspects, I would be focusing on metrics more around cost per lead, cost per MQL, and cost per opportunity sourced from it. Question, yes, I will be, I can share the recording as well. And the goals of it. So if, let's say you're doing a traditional or previously traditional lead generation initiative where 90% of your content is gated, those goals should probably be focusing on the bottom of funnel. So it would be pipeline, revenue, cost per MQL, cost per SAL. If you're focusing higher funnel and you're doing more of like a demand capture and demand generation or demand creation aspect, those have distinct KPIs and goals too around cost per clicks, click-through rates, time, lead to demo time, some of those aspects. So being very clear with each one. And you'll know which ones to stick with and which ones to dedicate more time is based on baseline metrics and following through with how things are progressing. So let's take a pretty broad example here. And there's actually a great one So let's say your goal is retention. So if your goal is retention, some of the things that we could be looking at would be, creating a custom attribution model, focusing only on renewals. So you aren't looking at new business or upsells. And within that, tracking which content you're providing is going to drive the most renewals. In this case, brand awareness, because they're already current customers, um, would be a great start. Within that, the typical budget split from top to bottom could be, 70-85% before conversion and some afterwards too. Sales cycle in this case, going through the Q&A, sales cycle would be based on when an opportunity is opened or when that initial conversation starts with the sales team through closed one. Those are what we would be discussing on this slide as sales cycles. How it looks in practice is constantly evolving and constantly changing. It's not something that you can do once a quarter and step away from. So the first thing that I would do is follow these things and factor them in and create your buckets as, brand awareness, ungated, your gated content, your demos or your bottom of funnel, your conversion actions, and then some of those follow through activities. And we'll be going and doing this live in just a couple minutes. This is going to be, I think, relevant for a lot of the people tuning in too, because there probably already is one in existence. And it is going to fall into when you need to change one and how to stay agile with the market. So attribution is every B2B marketer's favorite topic. It's a never-ending conversation either, but you can reference different attribution models. So if you're looking at a first touch or a last touch or a multi-touch, those are going to tell you different things similar to the questions that we could ask customers. What was the first piece of content you remember before you made a purchase? What was the last piece of content before you made a purchase? You can track conversion rates at each journey stage. Journey stage here, I would be doing everything from lead, if you have Salesforce, stage 0, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, all the way through to closed one, and also renewal or upsell and expansion, and all the metrics in between, MQL, SQL, the 3-letter acronym that you'll have for each of those stages too. And these are pretty directly correlated, but I would also check the cost per metrics at each stage. If you're seeing a drastic drop off between, MQL and SAL, that right there points where you need to focus on in your full funnel strategy. The last one is speaking with recent closed one customers. So oftentimes when we speak with customers, we speak for like the best ones or the ones that, would be our ideal ICP for future marketing materials. But talking to recent closed one customers provides great insight for the recency effect. They're going to remember the most recent thing they saw, and they'll have a better memory because it's been recent on what activity and what marketing efforts actually made the biggest impact on them. Because they're not going to remember the touch points that didn't mean anything and didn't provide value. They're going to have a higher memory to then, or an increased memory, I should say, to what is actually driving value. Now I'm going to switch screens here, and we're actually going to do this live with the remaining 5 minutes here, and I can also answer questions afterwards. So within that, I'm going to move over into metadata. And so, getting out of slides and actually showing how this is done is a great way to show how easy it can be and how frequently we need to be on top of it. Within metadata itself, I'll be going to budget groups. And this is really where we're going to be dissecting each stage of that customer journey or that prospect journey. Within that, I'm going to add a new group, and I'm going to say that, let's keep math really nice. We're going to say that our monthly total budget is 100K. So that'll make the percentages easier. So within that, I have if anyone wants to suggest an industry, I'm more than happy to do one for it. Within that, let's say that my software that I'm selling or marketing for is in IT, and it is a very complex and lengthy sales cycle. We'll say like a 14-month sales cycle. And my, IT persona that I'm targeting loves content. They love to read and be very knowledgeable about before they make any decision or even hop on a demo. And I can check that with my previous conversion rates and cost per metrics. So, I might say that, a solid 50% of my budget is going to be dedicated to brand awareness. So monthly fit reset. So it's going to reset every month for me, and it's going to pause for me when I'm at that 50K. From there, I'm going to select the budget optimizer and set it for performance and pacing so that I can do the 9 million other things on my plate. What this does is it is going to essentially shift and get the best cost efficiencies for you for everything that falls into this, brand awareness bucket. So we'll say that this is top of funnel. Perfect. Now, within that itself, I can create another one, and I will name this one middle of funnel or lead generation. And this one, I might just put $25,000 in and have some budget remaining there. Now, what I'm going to determine for this is, I want to be optimizing for opportunities. So I'm not going to be optimizing for leads. I'm going to be optimizing for what content is actually driving the best or the most opportunities. And triggered is synonymous with sourced. So I'm going to go ahead and create this one. And I have $25,000 remaining. Okay, so let me go in and then create a demo one. So demo drivers, this could also be called demand capture. And this is in my main funnel, so I'm not going to make any adjustments to what funnel. I'm only selling one offering here, and I'm going to be setting this at, 25K. For some reason, when I tracked my conversion rates, I'm seeing a really high lead to demo conversion rate. Let's say I have a multi-touch attribution model, or I go into one individual lead record and I check the content that they consumed beforehand. I'm going to say that, hey, it's really important that I spend that money up front. And then afterwards, it'll be more cost efficient for demand capture. So I'm going to select that at 25K. It's currently 25% of my budget. And I'm also, because this is driving demos, going to be selecting opportunities. So we're optimizing for what exact audience, creative, and offer variable is driving the most pipeline. Now, I'm going to name this demand creation so that we can kind of see everything clearly. And within this, we have a pretty full funnel in terms of from unaware to gated content to capturing demand through demos itself. That is a typical like stage one, I would say. From here, we can expand it a little bit further, focusing on that post closed won experience. And so within that, let me adjust this to maybe, 40K per month. And then I'm going to create a brand awareness budget group called Pipeline Velocity. And that is going to be $5,000. And with this, I'm going to be creating a dynamic audience from Salesforce where I'm going to be pulling in and targeting all of my open opportunities, and it refreshes every day. So I don't have to spend the time of, creating the report, downloading the report, going into my crazy desktop to find exactly that file and then uploading it. It'll do it dynamically. So I'm only going to spend $5,000 on that a month and optimize for CPC because I have a lengthier sales cycle. I need to stay in top of mind. And the metrics I'm going to be checking in here are, hey, are my efforts from time A to time frame B decreasing the sales cycle? Are we seeing days taken off? Are we seeing higher closed won rates? Those are some of the things that I'd be tracking. And you could also track ACV. Now I have a remaining $5,000 for my $100,000 monthly budget. And my product in the IT space is, going crazy. I'm dedicating a lot of my budget, or the company's dedicating a lot of their budget, I should say, to constantly coming out with new products, new offerings, new things like that. And we're seeing we can improve retention. And so I'm going to make sure that I need to market to my current customers. And for current customers, I think that getting the most relevant information to them is top priority, that it shouldn't be gated or there shouldn't be a reason why they can't access it. I would do brand awareness and, customer marketing to make sure that each customer knows exactly uh, everything, all the great things that we're doing, all the new products, all the new offerings, all the new features that we've added. I'm going to make sure that they are all aware of that with $5,000 a month. And I'm going to also make sure I'm optimizing for cost per click. So I'm really maximizing that efficiency. But let's say I'm running, videos, or I'm running other content and I care more about click-through rate. Great. I'm going to be selecting click-through rate here to be optimizing and shifting all of that daily budget for, so I can do the million other things on my plate. So I'm going to save that. Now from here, we have, demand creation. So they're unaware, that based on the data I saw is going to be very, very, very worthwhile in the future when they're ready to buy and when I come up first as the first brand that they think of when they have the time to solve that problem. I have some content that's going to be gated for lead generation. This content itself is going to be, gold on um, cost per lead, cost per MQL. And if I have a goal in mind, I can go in and actually set it myself. So let's say that my target cost per MQL goal is 500. Perfect. And we have columns so that we can arrange it and we can go and track towards that goal at any given point in time. Let me go through here and rearrange it. So over time, as we launch campaigns, I'll be able to very clearly see exactly how I'm going towards that goal. Demand capture, this is definitely going to be focusing on pipeline. I have the optimizer turned on. And then pipeline velocity and customer marketing here, I'll be tracking my, closed won, my retention rates, and the things that matter most here. That is how you can build one in, I lied, it was 5 minutes, 7 minutes instead of 5. And I have everything totaling up, and I'll be able to put all of my campaigns into each of these buckets so that I can track the effectiveness of it throughout. Uh, any questions, anything I can answer? What is the best percentage split between lead generation and awareness? It's the B2B marketer's favorite answer. It depends. Within that, there are a few that for a great starting point to get data, I would say a 50-50 split is definitely where I would start the conversation. And then from there, adjust accordingly. See if there's any other questions coming in. Yep, we can share the recording and lunch gift cards will be sent. If you have any questions on this, please feel free to reach out, email, LinkedIn, and we'll send over a follow-up email as well with more information there. Really, really, really important to go into and to understand, to talk and know your customers. And it's something that we do on our services side of the house. Also make sure that we factor into all of the equations. So thank you all for attending. Please let me know if you have any further questions. And yeah, cheers.